everybody, and welcome. My name is Alicia Hodges, and I'm the Concrete Masonry Checkoff Program Director. Today, we are here for the launch of the Block Design Collective, the Checkoff's new design assistance program, and this is an exciting step forward for our industry. So I'm so glad you are all here to be a part of it. During this session, you'll meet the Block Design Collective team and learn how this initiative will strengthen the industry through design resources, educational engagements, and project support. Most importantly, you'll hear how you as investors play a pivotal role in introducing the Block Design Collective to the AEC community. As a reminder, we are in a webinar format, so your microphones are muted, your cameras are off. Please put your questions into the Q&A and we will try to answer them along the way. We will have a question and answer session at the end, so we'll try to get your questions answered then as well. A copy of this presentation will be in the producer portal later in the week, so please go to and visit the producer portal. By Friday, we should have it in there. With that, I am now going to turn it over to Kim Spahn, the Concrete Masonry Checkoff CEO, to kick off our webinar.
All right, thanks, Alicia. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think this is an exciting day, the Block Design Collective official launch. And you may be asking why we're doing a launch now. We have been building to this point for about the past year. We now have officially all 5 directors hired. One is yet to start, but we have our team ready to go. And so we're ready to tell the world about the Block Design Collective and how they can take advantage of all its services. So we first wanted to share it with you guys as the investors and share what all it has to offer so that you can go out and leverage your customers to help bring them to the Block Design Collective. So as we take a look at what the Block Design Collective is, who are we, what are we here for? We're obviously here as a big picture to drive market share growth through a connected set of initiatives. And we're serving a unique function while we expand the CMU appeal across all audiences and sectors. And who is our audience? The Block Design Collective, as well as the Checkoff, is targeting architects, engineers, and contractors. And the Block Design Collective is here to help those entities design more quickly, easily, and more efficiently with CMU and their projects. So how does it fit into the overall Checkoff? Well, we have 6 main pillars that the Checkoff works within, that we fund programs. And actually, the Block Design Collective fills 3 of those different buckets. So it's really a very broad part of what we're doing with the Checkoff. And so it actually, probably the main part, a main couple parts is design assistance and education. And you'll hear more about that as we go through today. And then it ties very closely with our marketing efforts. So I want to give the directors that we do have on board a chance to introduce themselves if you haven't met them. And we'll start with the first director that we hired, which is Tino, if you want to take it and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Tino Kalile. I am the technical director for the Midwest, and I'm currently in the Chicago region. Apologies for my camera not being on. I'm on vacation with my wife for our anniversary, but I really wanted to be on here to be able to share and talk about the BDC.
Awesome. Thanks, Tino, and thanks for joining us from Hawaii. We appreciate that. Chuck?
I'm Chuck Rotundo. I'm the director for Region 1. I cover from Maine down to West Virginia, and I live in New Jersey.
Thanks, Chuck. Appreciate it. And then Lauren came to us kind of middle of this year. So Lauren, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yep. Hello, everyone. I started in May earlier this year. I'm in Region 4, which is that South Central region. I'm super excited to be here. I'm based in Fort Worth, Texas, and I am an Aggie for anyone that has not met me.
All right. Thanks, Lauren. And then last but certainly not least of our directors that is currently on staff with us, Irene started with us the middle of September. So she's just been on board a couple of weeks. So many of you may not have met her. So Irene, if you can maybe give a little bit of background of who you are and where you came from.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Irene. I am the new technical director for the West Coast region, or Region 5. I come from a background of structural engineering, working primarily with new design of mid-rise to high-rise buildings with some mixed in work of forensics and existing structural fit outs. Over the past year and a half, I've been part of a prefabricated ADU company in the Bay Area, working through product engineering and helping to scale manufacturing processes. So I'm very excited to join the checkoff and the BDC to help grow the market share for concrete block masonry and help support our AEC community.
Yeah, and then thanks, Irene. Appreciate that. And then our last region, Region 2, we are bringing on board. We've found that director and still finalizing their details. So we look forward to them being on board with us here soon.
Thanks,
All right,
Kim.
and then I'll turn it over to Lauren.
Sorry, I was ahead of you 1 second. Thanks, Kim. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about what do we offer as the Block Design Collective, and we'll get into some other things, how y'all help us as well later. So this slide's going to kind of show the 3 different key offerings that we have. So we have online resources, education, and project assistance. So we have the funnel on the right that kind of goes through this indirect and direct influence. And what this means is the indirect influence is things like it's removing the barriers that currently exist in the market. It's improving design efficiency, enhancing experience, creating pathways and building trust. And then we kind of funnel down into the direct influence portion of that. And that is proposing differing CMU solutions and adding blocks to projects ultimately. And that falls through that project assistance piece. So through all 3 of these, we feel that we can really get out there in front of the AECO community and make a real difference in terms of block. So for the resources portion of that, we have built out a portion of the website now, which we'll also show you later, that has resources available to the community and to y'all and to anyone that wants to access it. So some things that are available now are typical starter details, which we'll talk more about on in the next slide, the next few slides, standard CMU specs, design checklists, design calculators, block bites, which I'll also explain what that is later, and then delegated design guide. So we're creating a variety of things that ultimately help make designing with masonry more efficient and improving consistency across the country in general. And so we will now go into the next one. So this is an example of typical starter details. So there's often inconsistency in design. And so what typical details can help us do is establish that consistency across drawings. And this also enables designers to work more efficiently. So the same goes for the specifications. Essentially, these vetted standard CMU specs can help eliminate the wide variance of specifications that we see in the design community. Design checklists. These are meant to be a great design guide for the design of concrete masonry elements and systems. We went through the TMS code and extracted relevant design requirements to make it easy for the designer to ensure a code compliant element. As always, this is a great resource to ensure software systems are providing the necessary and accurate design checks. And then design calculators is another thing we have on there right now. These are all in Excel format. These are just another way to make it easier for designers to design with masonry. So ultimately, we're just trying to create all these resources that make it easier and more efficient. And then block bites. So these are a 1-page kind of front and back style of a technical resource that we've created. So we have a variety of topics that are already on there, and we will continue to build this out. But these are meant to be like a quick, short, insightful tip type of structure, giving someone something that they can really learn, but at a higher level that's easier to grasp. And so we will continue to build these out as well as the other resources that were mentioned. So education, so this is that second kind of bubble that we had on that main slide of what we can offer. So the Block Learning Hub that lives under the Beauty of Block website already has these 8 PowerPoints on there for architects, engineers, anyone in the AECO community can get on there and use these courses. But these are accredited courses that we can give, live webinars for. We can have them posted up there so people can go in and learn on their own terms. And we also can give these presentations live. We will continue to build out this library of education on a variety of topics as we continue. This is what it looks like if you log into the Block Learning Hub. You can see these different courses and kind of take them like school style. They're super, super helpful. Project assistance. So this is that third piece that we talked about. So we've assigned levels to project assistants to kind of better define what this means and what this can look like in practice, and how we kind of gather information and have the investors and the industry help us sort of do this. And so we have created a space where we can have just generic inquiries come in for project assistance. So if someone has a basic question that they need help with something, they can send us that and we can provide an answer. Now, our goal is to get blocks added on jobs, increase market share, over time, of course. So what we're trying to do is gather project information on some of these general inquiries so that we can maybe help and take it a step further. So that's where these levels kind of come into play. So if we got a general inquiry but didn't really have project specific information from that general inquiry, we could ask a series of questions to sort of gather that project information and then provide kind of a level 1 or a level 2, meaning we could do a drawing review, we could do kind of a structural design assist to help from an efficiency standpoint, or we can do a full-blown level 3 project proposal, which is a preliminary design that can be paired with a cost estimate that can be sorted regionally to get accurate costs. And so all of these tools are ways for us to help, whether that be an architect, an engineer, or general contractor, kind of get in the door and have conversations about introducing block on jobs early. So all of this is meant to have that discussion and add block if we can, and or change jobs that maybe weren't going block into block based on these resources that we're able to provide. So the expertise areas that we can cover. So we have a series of consultants that kind of sit behind us as the 5 directors that are fully helping us get all this going and really able to drive this, because we need people that have been in this industry for a long time to help with their expertise and education on some of these things. So all of these categories are categories in which we can help the community with. So whether that be one of those general questions or whether that turn into something more complex that we need to assist with, we can cover all of these areas. So an example, I wanted to give an example from that project assistance presentation slide. So what a general inquiry could look like, these 2 were ones that I received earlier this year. And so a basic question could be, would this control joint solution work for a 1-hour rated wall? This was something that someone sent in, they attached a drawing with it. We were able to very quickly provide a response to them, and then they had their answer and they could proceed. What we can also do is, like I mentioned, kind of ask different questions to sort of try to help in a bigger way. And so Tino's going to actually go through some of his examples of how he's kind of transformed things into this level 1, 2, and 3 category of project assistance.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. So here's an example of a level 1 project support that we worked on, which from Lauren's slide is something like a drawing review. So this was a project with various forms of storage sheds. And historically, this architect and engineer always worked on these storage sheds, and they were light frame or cold form walls, but they always had a masonry veneer because that's what the owner liked. So when we did a drawing review, they actually had CMU as the veneer element, but they had a interior structural system that was non-CMU. So we went through the drawing review, gave them tips on detailing stuff, and then also reinforcing solutions. But then also said, hey, for your next one, you can make this a lot more efficient with masonry. And so although this one was a little too far into the project development to change, they said they do hundreds of storage sheds a year, and it was only 2 weeks later until we got another drawing review from them, and this time it was early in SD and DD where we were able to make a difference. And in that drawing set alone, we saw CMU be the structural system with a masonry veneer as well. So a level 1 translated into added block for this type of project in storage sheds. The second example is more in depth. It takes more time and it's a bigger commitment, but it's worth it. So this is a multifamily residential space where after a presentation that we did, the engineer came to us and the cores were leaning towards cast in place concrete. And we said that there's a great opportunity for it to be concrete masonry, and it'll save money on the job too. So we went through actually various iterations of concrete masonry solutions, looking at 8-inch walls, 10-inch walls, 12-inch walls. 2000 F prime M, 2500 F prime M, to make sure that the architect gets what they need and the engineer gets what they need, and coordinating with that. And what this resulted in for this job was they got to take out the use of forms since they're building it with CMU. They got to eliminate a lot of the steel brace frames and moment frame systems in this drawing or in this project as well. And all the cores and even added block were onto this job. I believe it was close to 60,000 block on this job between the 4 cores and the first 2 levels of interior load bearing wall that we were able to add. And while these walls were, um, some of them were not there yet, even the ones that were there, we were able to optimize them and maximize what they can do. So non-load bearing to load bearing for very little extra reinforcement and grout. So that's an example of a level 2 design assist. They didn't really care about the job. They just wanted to know, can CMU be done and be done well on this job? And then level 3 is where all our cards on their table, right? We're providing not only a preliminary design assist, but we're creating a preliminary drawing set and working with the local groups to put together a number to show why it's such a great solution. And here we're focusing on pre-construction support. So where I think this holds the most value is if you think about pre-construction teams, they can go to one person for a precast number, and they can go to one person for a prefabricated metal number. But historically, in our masonry industry, there is never that one entity that can both do design and estimate and be able to deliver that early in a project so that the pre-construction team and owner can make an informed decision on what material to go with. But now we can, and that's what this level 3 really does. In the event where it's cost driven and we want to be competitive, these project proposals can be a great solution. So this is a school edition and a storm shelter nonetheless, where we provided a drawing where we'll provide a plan, a rendering, elevations, and typical section details, and even quantities to kind of help the mason contractor uh, be not take so much of their time to make it more efficient for them to be able to give us a local number that we can report back to the design team, and so that they can make an informed decision. And it's important to note here that concrete masonry is one piece of the pie when it comes to buildings. We're a wall element or a vertical element. So making what we're doing here is also being able to provide some form of design for the roof or the floor system so that the owners can look and compare it as a whole system rather than just a piece of the project cost. And then here's another example where here we actually didn't add much block. The block was shown here, but where we were able to do with the design team was show that, hey, you already have block here, make it load bearing, and you're not increasing your foundations much, but you get to eliminate a lot of other structural elements. And so using it to your advantage and your full advantage is important here. So although we did design roughly 30,000 block on this job, the importance here was letting the design team know that it's possible to, when you have it, use it for all its capabilities, its structure, its fire, its sound. And so this was another one where we did go ahead and through a project proposal where we showed where if you can use this as a structural system, you can eliminate X, Y, and Z. You got to eliminate structural steel braces, reduce foundations. You got to eliminate air barriers due to at the exterior skin. There's many benefits to here, and so this is another example. And here we worked with the pre-construction team to figure out what they really needed. So I'll turn this over to Chuck now to talk about how do we partner to maximize our efforts.
Thanks, Tino. I'm going to keep my camera off, guys. I hope everybody can hear me okay. My computer is saying that my connection is unstable, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I'm going to walk you through the next group of slides that will address, as Tino said, how we can work together to bring opportunities to the Block Design Collective, and in doing so, maximize our efforts together, and with the hope that we will maximize those opportunities. So let's take a look. So the first thing we want to do is simply open doors. The easiest way to do that is verbally. So in your day-to-day, ask simple questions like, have you heard of the Block Design Collective? We fully expect, at least in the beginning, the answer to that question is most likely going to be no. But that's a great opportunity to get us connected, and you can do that through like an email introduction, or if you want to schedule a virtual meeting with us and have us on a call with you, we're happy to do that. You can also share our general email address, which is info@blockdesign.org, and that's a good way for people to get in touch with us. Another way is we have a project support link that you can add to your website, or you can guide them to ours, and they can just click on that link and fill out a web inquiry form and get in touch with us that way. Next, we have plenty of marketing collateral that you guys will have access to. So if you scan this QR code that you see here, it will give you access to our storefront, and there you can download things like promotional flyers that you can either use digitally in the form of an email attachment or a link, or you can just print them out, and you can also order Beauty of Block swag there. So if you have an event coming up, you can get some goodies for people that will be attending your event. Finally, you can just bring us in. It doesn't need to be physically, but it can be. We're happy to attend a meeting with you if you see value in having us there. But really, what we mean here is we want to become an extension of your team. So if you can, again, set up a virtual meeting, that's a great way to get the conversation started. And in those meetings, we can address all of the things that you've already seen here today. We can look at project specifications. We can see if the design is code compliant. We can take a look at the structural performance of the building, the way they currently have it designed. Or if you just need us to offer, a quick opinion on something, we're happy to do that. So connect with your local technical director to learn more about all of that. And there's more. So you can plan an event with us. We can speak at events, or we can help you plan an event if it's something that you guys are planning, or if there's one that you notice in your area that's coming up and you think it would make sense for us to attend, then we're happy to do that and network on your behalf while we're there. Share opportunities with us. So the key here is early involvement. If we see drawings early, like in the conceptual or schematics phase, we can determine if the project is a good candidate to do one of those proposals that you just saw Tino go over, or to influence the design to include block if it doesn't already. We also look for design efficiency, and I know Lauren mentioned that earlier. So when we see projects early on, we look to make sure, is this being designed as efficiently as possible? So once you plug us into a project, we will run with it. And when I say that, I mean, we're going to do our job and not yours. We still will be relying on you guys to close deals and sell the product. But once you plug us in, we will run with it and we will do what we do. So when we say share ideas, we just want to be transformational and innovative, guys. We want to take the industry to the next level. So if you have any ideas for tools or resources, or initiatives that you think we can work on to help the AEC community, then we're all ears. So please let us know about that. Okay, so for everything that I just went over, communication is vital to our success when we work together. You're going to see us going forward communicate in two different ways. You will see a monthly report that's going to be going out to the group that we have on this call, as well as our national board, and that will include accomplishments that we've made over the last 30 days. And then you'll also see another report going out to the AEC community, and that will be in the form of a newsletter. And that will highlight, again, accomplishments, but also some events that we've attended, upcoming events that we're going to be attended, and we may be highlighting some tools and resources that the AEC community can use. So the last thing is engagement, okay? And that's going to be done at the investor level and also with the AEC community. So when we talk about engagement with investors, we are coming to a state near you or your state. The goal here is for all of us to be hitting a new state each month, so 12 per year. And these will be 2-day visits. On day one, we hope to get together with a state association or a group of producers if there is no state association. And then day two would be like a strategic meeting with an account that we're focused on, or maybe an educational event that we've had planned in advance. And then engagement with the AECO community. So the underlying goal in all of this, guys, is to learn about projects. The projects are where the block will ultimately land, and so we do need to learn about them. Education is critical. If the design community does not have a comfort level with our product, they will lean towards another building system. Conversely, if they are most comfortable with CMU, then that's a no-brainer. We hope that they will go with our product. So education is really important. When we talk about strategic meetings, if you guys need help setting these types of meetings up, please reach out to us directly. We will figure out a way to get you in front of who you're trying to get in front of. My advice is, be strategic. If you learn from a particular firm that they're not using block, find out why. Make an informed decision on whether or not this is a firm that you want to continue tracking. And the way we do that is by asking really simple discovery questions. If they're not using block, what are they using? Have an internal conversation with your team. Do you think it's a company that, that can be turned around and steered back towards, block? Has anyone educated them? Sometimes the answer will be, well, we don't use it because we don't know a whole lot about how to design with it. And that's a great opportunity to get us involved. Did they ever use block? And if the answer is yes, then what caused them to stop? So to wrap it all up, I would say, again, please just communicate with us. Get us involved as early as you can. And I think I am now turning it back over to Tino, and hopefully everybody was able to hear me okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. I wanted to pause just a quick second before Tino continues on, because we had some great questions about the design process. So I wanted to give everybody a chance to hear what those questions were and what the answers are. So the first one was, what is the fee for level 3 support? And I'm going to let the design team answer these questions.
I'll answer that. It's the best deal in town. It's free. There's no cost for any of this. Free 99. I can't think of any more ways to say free, but if there is, I would say it's free. So it's literally the cost is your time. Can you send an email and ask us? And if so, we're here to help as effectively and quickly as possible.
The only thing I would add there is I did have one project where I introduced an engineer to do a proposal for a CM firm, and that CM firm, I think, went on to actually form a contractual relationship with the engineer. And in that case, obviously that's a completely separate relationship at that point. And there would obviously be cost involved with that. But I would echo what Tino said. It is the best deal in town right now.
Yeah, and you guys might be asking yourselves, why are you guys offering this at no charge? So just keep in mind, we're talking to you guys as investors. And our goal is to help you increase your market share. And so this is brought to you through the dollars, through your assessments and your investment in the checkoff. And so that's why and how we're able to offer that at no cost. So good question. Another question that came in is, what is the turnaround time on the different levels of assistance?
That is a great question. And it's really a function of what is the level, like how much communication can we get with the design team to be the most influential? So in those examples that I gave earlier, the drawing review, we turned it around in 2 days because it was very straightforward. The design assist, we went back and forth for nearly a month with the engineer, but every time we were in communication with them, we turned around preliminary designs within a week just to make sure that we're in constant communication. We do not ghost. We're well in communication with the design team or with you and where we're communicating how quickly we can turn something around. Our goal for the rinse and repeat project proposals right now is about 2 weeks, but as we gain experience and get better and better at this, we're looking to get down to about a 1 week turnaround. And it ties into a really good point is we don't want to be in that position where it's a week before bid date. So get us in early so that time is not what's going to control our impact. We want to be asking the right questions, like Chuck had mentioned, to be able to be sure that the block and CMU in general is fitting exactly the project's needs. So get us in pre-DD, SD during concept so that we can start that conversation early.
Yeah, thanks, Tino. Great question. Another good one that came in was, will you be reaching out to mason contractors in the project area for more accurate pricing? And how do you develop the list of masons in various areas?
Yes, that's actually our biggest challenge right now is developing that list. We can do the design. We have our producers that's helping us, like you all, and then the mason contractors. We are looking really at the local level right now. There, if you're a mason contractor, if you know of a mason contractor, get them involved with the checkoff and with us. Connect us with them, and there's a lot of room for growth that where we can help them and they can help us as well in this. One of the solutions is we've turned to MCAA as a partner, and they've helped us connect with the local contractors. And then the other way that we've connected with local contractors is by contacting all of the local masonry associations. So in my region, we nearly have a form of association, whether it's the Mason Contractor Association or an alliance, to connect with them so that we can get a local number. The local is the key part of all of this is we're getting a real price at the local market for these project proposals.
Yeah, great. So I think any of you that are on the call that are mason contractors, if you have other ways we can make that connection or that list, we're all ears. Another great question is, does the Block Design Collective stamp the drawings?
We do not. So we are a free project support. That's kind of our bread and butter. We want to get block into the drawings, but we do not stamp. That being said, like Chuck had mentioned earlier, once a project gets to a certain level, we can help connect or review someone's drawings, but we do not stamp. Great question.
Yeah, good question. Aaron Heidecker, I'm going to turn this one over to you. This question is, how will the AEC community know about the Block Design Collective and its services? Will there be communications with AIA, SCA, et cetera?
Yes, that's a great question. Thank you, James. So we will begin promoting this in October through the national campaign of Beauty of Block. We'll be communicating this through our AIA channels, but we'll also be partnering with other organizations and state associations on how we can further that message within their AEC audiences. So there will be news releases that we will be sending out as well. As long as social, that we encourage you all to continue sharing. We really appreciate that. And we'll also have materials coming up here too through the producer portal that can be downloaded. So you can share that out with any of your AEC contacts to really help further the message.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. And I think that the other part of how are we going to get the AEC community to know about this turns us right over to the next section. So Tino, maybe you could share about how our investors can help contribute to not only knowing about the Block Design Collective, but how to get engaged with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to break off of that last question too, our biggest effort right now is to the AEC community is we need to develop a reputation and we need to develop trust. So those are the two things that producers and investors can help us with right away is because you guys are already in that local market. And so being able to help us provide that credibility, that reputation, and that trust is going to go a long way. So what is your role and how do you do this? So again, promote our free services to your network. We will help with drawing reviews, we'll help with design things. If they have a technical question, we can provide that. If they need some education, we can refer them or we can do the education ourselves. There's so much that we can offer. And the best way I can explain it is just think of us as an extension of your team. We are an office just down the hall with an open door policy. That's how we are to you guys. And so use us to your advantage. The second is connect us with early stage projects in your market. We're trying to identify those jobs in concept and SD so we can have the biggest influence. And then lastly is help us continue to unify the industry. We've got such great people in this industry, and everyone's doing their part in their local groups. And so continue to talk to each other, unify, and we're going to be more powerful than ever. And that's the whole goal with the Block Design Collective and the checkoff in general, is to unify. And so that we're this one push to help continue to push concrete masonry into jobs. Next slide, Aaron. So first step in building that credibility and reputation is add Beauty of Block into your email signature. It's in the producer portal, and if not, if you send us an email, we can help you get this onto your email. So if you're work for a pizza company or any of whatever company you work for, add Beauty of Block in it, and that's a movement that we're trying to start to reimagine what block is and how we can look at block. So just by adding that, it can help link someone out of curiosity to our website, to our design resources, and help connect the dots and build this brand of Beauty of Black that we're trying to do. We also have BDC business cards. So this will be something that Kim's going to talk about later, but we're going to send this to all producers. And really, it's an easy access way of getting project support. So pass this along. And the more they see Beauty of Block and the Design Collective, the more they'll use us and the more they'll feel comfortable of where what we're trying to accomplish and what we can offer. The flyer is something that you're going to get as well, and if you ever, and this is going to be free on the producer portal as well. So this is just a summary of what the block design is, everything that we can offer, who we are, our names, our contact information, and this is a great flyer to hand out. If you're going to conferences, events, into a meeting, pass this along, and it's available digitally as well. So just again to help us build our reputation and our brand and our credibility. This one is a fantastic thing that I think we're doing is insight forms. So Chuck had mentioned earlier about discovery questions, and this is our digital discovery question. Just as much as we're looking to offer, we are trying to learn as much as possible. So when you scan this QR code, you'll specify your job title. If you're an architect or an engineer or a GC or a producer, the questions are actually tailored a bit towards that position so we can learn more. And then we can direct our resources, our education, our technical forms, all directed towards the challenges that we see directly from a survey. So this is a great one. You'll see at the bottom of all the directors' email chains, this is something that we put at the bottom of our email signature. So please, I encourage long when possible. And then lastly is on your website, offer our support. Again, we're an extension of your team, so put a button in your website to offer project support that would link us back to our website. And so this is a great opportunity to just, again, really feel like we're working as one team and we're not just this extra association. So if you need any help with that as well, we're happy to help get this into your website. So why do we feel like this approach will be successful? So the biggest thing with this is a one-stop shop. My background is structural engineering, and for 6 years, if I had a question, I knew who to go to for steel. I knew who to go question if I had a wood question. I knew who to go on if I had a post-tension question. But for concrete masonry, we haven't had one that really understands all the national demands, depending on region, in one location. We've got fantastic resources at the local level, but unless you know about that local level, it's very difficult to connect with them. Really, only the local groups will know the local connection. So why we matter is that we are finally that one-stop national resource that can provide that support. And if you're a Chicago architect and you've got a project in Texas, reach out to us, and we've got the Chicago experience and we've got the Texas experience. And so you can go to the next slide. And so this slide is really just meant to communicate that we are that reputable assistance for the concrete masonry industry. And so woodworks kind of ties to wood, AISC goes to steel. And although that arrow's pointing from left to right, I would argue that it should be pointing from right to left. And our goal is that we're driving people to use concrete masonry by offering this technical assistance because it's easy and it's fast and it's reliable. And as we mentioned earlier, it's free. So being able that impact of national design support is extremely important. And I will pass it to Phil to talk about an example that we have of a project that we've worked on. So, Phil, I'll let you take it from here.
Sure, thanks, Tino. My name's Phil Winnett, and I'm the executive director of the Masonry Institute of Michigan. And I also own a professional engineering business and do some structural engineering in states around our region, which has been a really nice tie-in with the Block Design Collective. And so we had a really good example here in Kentucky where an architect didn't believe that concrete masonry could be used in their wool assemblies to meet energy code requirements in their region. And so in much of Region 3, we're lucky enough to be in 3 climate zones, 5, 6, and 7. And so they had reached out to Tino, and collectively we kind of worked with them, showed them how we could use single withe masonry in a portion of their structure and use cavity wall construction for the other part of it. And we actually did their com check for them. And then after that, the building owner reached out to me and, offered to have me on as the engineer of record. And so we just issued construction drawings on this 2 weeks ago. And so, this was a perfect example of a job that probably wouldn't have been concrete masonry just because of concerns related to energy codes. And we were able to add 12,000 units to this project. And the architect's been reaching out a lot with other questions on projects in the Kentucky market as well. And so, that just helps us to build on these wins. And we were able to partner with a local block producer in the Kentucky market, which was Lee Building Products, and they put us in touch with contractors. And so not only, could we offer all of these options as far as energy code compliance and structure, but it allowed us to offer options for pricing as well as for schedule. Yeah, and that really helped us drive this to the solution. And like I said, we just issued construction drawings 2 weeks ago on this. And so really good example. And it's one of the many challenges we face, but we have a good group of people that can kind of demonstrate how concrete masonry can be used on building projects to kind of meet all these code requirements.
Thanks, Phil.
Mhm.
Yeah, this was an awesome project. We went back and forth. We looked at different roof systems. This is a fun project to do. And correct me if I'm wrong, this is in construction now, correct, Phil?
They're going to break ground in the spring, but we did issue all of our construction documents for permitting.
Yeah, awesome. And this would be a great case study that we're looking to do once Project Great breaks ground too. So thanks, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe it'll go to Kim. Is there any questions?
Hey, real quick, Tino, there's a question in the chat regarding the success story. What was the original material specified while y'all are on it?
So I can take that one, Tino, if you want. So we got lucky in that the architect engaged us really early before they had selected materials. It likely would have went with cold form framing if it did not go concrete masonry, especially because on the cavity wall side of this building, it was primarily therapy offices, doctors' offices, and office space. And so since a lot of those interior walls were cold formed anyways, that was the route it was kind of leaning. And then for the back of house space, it probably either would have been cold formed or another similar type system. But because the architect engaged Tino, as it were, early enough, they hadn't made those decisions. And I think that really highlights the importance of early involvement. Our goal, as an industry, shouldn't be converting or flipping jobs to use masonry after something's already been decided. Really, that early involvement before someone has made a decision is where we can really be a lot more effective at, getting concrete masonry specified. So I think I answered your question, but they didn't have one exactly picked out, although it likely would have been cold formed metal frame construction, or maybe even a pre-engineered metal building for this case.
Yeah, I believe they were looking at pre-engineered metal building. That their notion or what they thought was that you cannot beat a prefabricated metal building price, and that was something that we were able to help with that misconception.
I am Chelsea Fitzgerald. I'm in Iowa and I facilitated the building of the block design website. So I'm super excited to show you guys, give you guys a first look at the website and how it just brings all the good things that the BDC team is doing into one spot. So the website itself, the Block Design Collective website, is not a deep website. We did that intentionally because we want designers to be able to come here and get the resources as quickly and easily as they can in as few as one clicks. So the first image you see is the homepage of the Block Design Collective website. If you go to Beauty of Block, you can see it on it's really small, but is under design resources. So they can either navigate directly to the Block Design Collective website or they can find it through Beauty of Block. And I will share that link for the Beauty of Block website in just a minute. But the search bar is a live search bar. So if they know exactly what they are looking for, they can type it in the search. And as I said, with one click, they can get that resource quickly and efficiently. They can also search by resource type. So if they know that they want a design guide, they can go and find that quickly. Second page just shows you what it looks like once they start their search. So they know they want a certain type of resource or they know a keyword that they want. And then this pulls up the results page. And then from there, they can filter by search phrases or resource type or resource topic. And then once they find the resource they're looking for, they are pulled to the resource page. And based off the resource type, whether they need a PDF or Excel file or a Revit file, whatever they need, they can download the resource type they need. So so that just gives you, a high level idea of how the website is built. And as Lauren was talking about earlier, with project support, we want to get them to project support as easily as possible. So the button in the bottom left corner of the website, this is accessible throughout the entire Beauty of Block website. So they can easily navigate and get that project support quickly and get in contact with the technical directors. And then there's a QR code there if you want to take a look at the website. There was a question in the chat about how to get the button on your website. So I can provide a link that takes you directly to the Block Design Collective website so you can get to that project support quickly.
Okay, thanks, Chelsea. We have a lot of great questions coming in. Just based on time, I want to wrap us up here with all the information we have for you, and then we'll answer as many questions as we can. I know most of the team will probably stay on a little longer to make sure all your questions are answered. So we do use a group. Part of what the checkoff does is we have to track and show progress, that we are indeed actually using your assessments to build market share. And so a company called M&A, Morris Nelson and Associates, did our baseline. And that baseline told us that we have approximately 5% market share across the nation. But from there, they've also given us some great other insights that the Block Design Collective team can utilize to help target the best markets that we can get the biggest bang for our buck with their efforts. And so here's what some of those target markets look like. So this is the largest MSA by new private housing starts. So you can see each region has a list there of about a top 5 areas or MSAs for private housing starts. This is going to help these directors target certain areas within their region. Again, one person in 10 or 11 or 12 states, we can't be everywhere, but we can make large impacts in big markets that would then trickle down to a lot of the other markets as they make those impacts and those changes. Now, this one is for non-residential construction. So you can see at the top of each region, it will tell you the type of non-residential construction they are seeing growth in. And then again, those regions or areas that they're seeing a lot of growth. And so we can cross connect the residential and the non-residential and really find where our biggest impact can be in each of our regions. And one other thing I will mention about that market data is we're also going to connect that data to our marketing efforts. And so with our limited dollars and our resources, it seems like we have plenty of money to go around. But as you get into all of these efforts, we do have to be strategic. And so we will be connecting what the Block Design Collective team is doing, what marketing is doing, so that we are really hitting on all fronts for those efforts to make those big impacts. And if you want to see what impacts we're making, another QR code for you. Hopefully you guys all have your phones out and are collecting all this great info. We put out every quarter what all 82 of our programs are accomplishing. And so within that, you will be able to see what the Block Design Collective has accomplished for both this year, where they stand within their 1-year goals, but also we have 5-year goals on there. So our board did approve full 5-year goals. Some of the different programs you will see they're meeting 1-year goals pretty quickly, but have a long way to go for 5-year goals. And that's basically shows that they were able to get out quick and early and start making impacts. Where some other entities, such as the Block Design Collective, we had to build tools and people to actually go get it done. And so we're on track. We're doing great, but we definitely want you guys to know what we're accomplishing with your investments. And then for the Block Design Collective, they also have long-term goals. We've talked a lot about these short-term goals and what we're trying to do. But as we look longer into the future, we'll be reaching a little bit further. So we'll get into delegated design. We'll get into things that are more innovative, like prefabrication, dry stack construction, automation, and probably a whole lot more as we continue down this journey. Next year, I would expect us to mostly see our teams getting their feet under them, reaching those target markets, those target construction segments, and really getting things going. But as we look into the future, we want to build excitement for what CMU can offer construction projects. A lot of people have heard about concrete masonry. If there's never anything new, it's hard for us to drive more market share. So that's the why we're looking at innovations in the future. And then also, as we talked about, our sources, while the assessments are great to get us going, if we wanted to build into a much bigger entity, we have to look for alternate sources. So that will be folks like affiliated CMU products, cement aggregates, those types of things, partnering with those guys as sponsors. We also have a grant writer on retainer with us. And so we are looking for those opportunities where we can actually launch bigger programs and projects with some grant dollars. And then certainly, I think Chuck talked about those partner events, but we want to build on those and expand them over the years with state associations, with contractors. How can we leverage one another and make our voice much bigger as one entity and one industry? So now I want to take just a quick brief look at what is the Block Design Collective's responsibility outside of their own regions. They will be helping contribute nationally to what we're doing. And that applies not only to national efforts, but it applies from one region to the next. One region may be building something that another region can utilize. So we're working as a team. We're leveraging each other's strengths. And so I just wanted to share with you how that looks. So you can see right now, all the Block Design Collective team does report up to me, and then I report up to both our Checkoff and our Block Design Collective boards. We had 2 separate boards. And then these are like our national buckets of things that we have to accomplish to make sure at the regional level, they still have the tools and we still have a national reach and look so that we're not dropping any part of where we can be affecting market share with the AEC community. So I actually handle the strategic direction of the Block Design Collective. And then Tino is now picking up the program management, which will be reporting back to you guys as investors, and also budgeting, making sure that we are maintaining our budgets that we have been given by the board. Jason Thompson is helping us with the design assistance. So much like people like Phil Ledent that talked about doing those designs, we have a number of those across the country. I think we have 15. We want to make sure they are all following our process. We talked a lot about our timing and how quickly we have to move. We want to make sure that every project that we get in turns back around and we're staying communicated. And that they're also all on the same page with efficient design and that we're not over designing things. So Jason's going to kind of help manage that. Then we have national engagement. So Chuck talked a little bit about that, but working with the national groups and then also working with our state associations, trade shows, sponsorships, webinars, making sure that at a national level, we are staying connected to all of our partners. And then the last one there is still a pretty big lift. And so we actually teamed up Lauren and Irene for content development. This will be continuing to build out the Block Learning Hub content, overseeing contracts and reviews, and making sure that all those tools that we just showed you for the Block Design Collective website continue to grow with the needs of our partners. And then the last thing we have for you is to get you a little bit excited about what we have coming out of the Block Design Collective. We have a producer toolkit. So if you were one of the first 50 people to register and are on this webinar, you'll actually receive a little package that has a shirt and a notepad, stylus pen, and some other fun things combined that you'll be able to utilize as you go out and help us promote the Block Design Collective. And then if you didn't make it in the first 50, we still want to make sure you guys have all the information you need. And so we will be sending out a couple of things to all of our investors. So we want to make sure that you have a letter from us that kind of explains again, reviews what you learned today. And then there's a flyer that you can actually stay connected to us and what the Block Design Collective is about. If you've got it down, feel free to pass that flyer on to a colleague of yours. So we need multiple partners from all of our different companies. And then the last one there, Tino had touched on earlier, is those Block Design Collective cards. It's just a quick way, if you're connecting with a customer and you want to say, hey, don't forget, Block Design Collective is here to support you and help you. You can give those out to some of the AEC community, and then they have a quick way to get back in touch with us. If you don't get the flyer from us or you need more of them, you can actually grab that QR code, and they are in our producer portal, so you can actually print more off for your use. And that kind of wraps us up. And Tino said it well, we are the free expert support for the CMU design. So feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help grow the CMU market. And, you know, we can kind of be presented as a nonprofit that helps the CMU industry with designs. So we'd love to get more feedback from you. I saw there was quite a few questions. I don't know if we still have any outstanding because now it looks like a lot of them got answered. So if I missed any, if somebody maybe could jump in here and help see if there was any we needed to answer live.
We did answer a number of questions available in the Q&A, but one open question is when we get pricing from the Mason, if we mention the Mason to the design team, or is it kept anonymous? So for that full project proposal strategy that we have, we like to bring all of the partners in on the call to make the biggest splash. So we'll typically have the producer and the Mason contractor, if they are available and willing to assist, to be able to pitch the project, the design, the numbers, and talk through the design team to ensure that if there's any questions that we can help answer.
Yeah, thanks, Tino. Appreciate that. Yeah, and if you guys are on the chat, if you open the chat, most of those are answered publicly. So if you want to take a look at those, I think we have buttoned up all the questions that were outstanding. But again, we're here to help you guys. Feel free to reach out at any point if you have questions or want more information. I would encourage you to find your regional director if you haven't already met them and get connected to them. They're going to be your fastest tool to implement all of this information. And so with that, we are a few minutes past the hour. And so I wanted to thank everybody for joining us. Appreciate it. We're excited about the launch and ready to get going. So we hope to talk to you all soon. Have a great rest of your day.